like to ask the Chairman of the Post Office whether the engagement of Korn Ferry Hay Group to undertake job evaluations complied fully with financial regulations and all procurement procedures.
Chairman of the Post Office to reply. Ms Edge.
Thank you, Mr President. Yes, I can confirm that we complied with the regulations.
Mr Hooper.
Thank you, Mr President. I'd like to thank the Chairman for that confirmation. Can the Chairman please confirm then when this debate happened in July? In response to a question from the Honourable Member for Douglas Central, Mr Thomas, the Chairman stated, I do believe at the outset that perhaps it did not go through the procurement portal. I wonder if she could clarify her comments in respect of that.
Ms Edge to reply.
Thank you, Mr President. And again, I'd like to offer to the Honourable Member who still hasn't visited the Post Office to come and understand perhaps some of the processes that are within the Post Office and what we operate to. Isle of Man Post Office has its own financial regulations, and I can confirm that we complied with everything within our financial regulations to bring forward the Korn Ferry Hay's proposal.
Final supplementary, Mr Hooper.
I've got a few, Mr President, if that's okay. I note the Honourable Chairman didn't actually answer the question there. If she could clarify that. In respect of the Post Office's own financial regulations, which were approved in August 2017, during the current Chairman's tenure, it states very clearly that for anything under £10,000, 3 quotations or estimates are required, and where not, reasons should be documented and retained for audit purposes. Everything in between £10,000 and £100,000, 3 quotes or estimates are required, and advertising is required. I'd be grateful if the Honourable Chairman could confirm 3 quotes or estimates were indeed obtained. I shudder to think that the cost of this process was more than £100,000, where a formal tender would have been necessary. If she could confirm that 3 quotes or estimates were obtained, who they were obtained from, and if not, if they weren't able to obtain 3 quotations or estimates, the reasons which should have been documented and retained fully in accordance with the Post Office's own FD8.
Chairman to reply.
Thank you, Mr President. Isle of Man Post Office has the FD8. It was an FD8 waiver that was utilised for this process. With regards to actually getting Korn Ferry Hay on board to look at an independent review of grades and the structures for Isle of Man Post Office, which hadn't been done for over 23 years, we were in discussions with the Office of Human Resources. There's very limited companies out there who can offer this type of service, and following discussions with the Office of Human Resources and Manx Utilities, who were also going through a similar process, we did that prior to the engagement of Korn Ferry Hay, but with advice and with reassurance, we felt that having Korn Ferry Hay on board, who are one of the leading operators within the UK, they're actually there's 12,000 organisations utilise them across 90 countries, was keeping it completely independent, and they could also they had the methodology in place to do a widespread focus across, from whether it was somebody operating in the postal sector or whether it was operating as the Chief Executive Officer. So there was a number of areas to take into consideration. The way the request was approved by the accounting officer in line with Isle of Man Post Office's financial regulations, and then it was ratified at a board meeting on the 8th of August, I think that is. Apologies, I haven't got my glasses on. So I feel quite confident that as there is a limited supply of resources within this area to do an independent review, it wasn't, I didn't feel, well, the board didn't feel it was to have employed the, I'm trying to remember the name, the Minister for Policy and Reform might be able to help me. The government is doing industrial JEGS process with JEGS, which is, and that's a separate process from JEGS, which is utilised for the civil service. The only other company that operates within this space is Hayes, but they're now called Korn Ferry Hay, and the decision was taken to utilise them by the Post Office and in accordance with the financial regulations in place.